thank you for that, team and Bronte. So right now, I'm going to hand it over to Brian, who is going to talk to us about the work that our working party has been doing, but also a broad overview in terms of our network. So thank you, Brian.
Okay, so team, if you're new to the Pasefika Network and this is your first engagement, welcome on board, and for the interest that's been shown. So just to bring you up to speed to why we are where we are at and how we got to where we are at, the Community Pasefika network has been recognised within the Public Service Association structures for a fair number of years. It would be also fair to say that in the last 2 to 3 years, the traction of the network in terms of its visibility and workings has come to prominence. This has really been because of the fact that people who have wanting to put their hands up to do the work have maintained their enthusiasm to do the work, but also their commitment to doing the work, which is one of the downfalls on the network on previous occasions. And so at the moment, after a series of regional and national Fono, there are a group of committed Pasefika delegates from predominantly Auckland and Wellington, because based on the fact that that's where the strength in numbers were within the Pasefika, within the PSA, were showing up in Auckland and Wellington. So a group of those individuals came together to discuss work and issues that affect our Pasefika members. And from these individuals coming together and putting time and effort and being united in doing work, several working parties were put together. And these working parties developed key strategies which informs the basis of the work that we do as a committee. And going forward, the formalization of the structure that manages the committee is only is in its infancy in terms of becoming formalized. So the structure came into effect on the 1st of April this year, and we embarked on a election journey. Now that election journey has resulted in several positions where more than one applicant was received. And so an election process was rolled out on Friday just gone to those who identify as Pasefika and are picked up in the database held within the PSA. And so this is to ensure that we now will have a formalised committee agreed and signed off by the governance of the organisation. And so today you will hear updates on key strategies that had been presented at a national Fono held in June last year, where these strategies were endorsed by the membership. The strategies themselves were also sent out to the Pasefika network for consultation and feedback. Now, one of the key pieces of work that's been done recently is to ensure that we have up-to-date information on members in the PSA who identify with Pasfika. And previously, this was information that was not clear, it wasn't held properly. And so when we talk about one of the strategies later on in today's presentation, we'll bring you up to date in terms of that piece of work of improving the data capture of our Pasefika members. And so you will hear in these presentations that will be made from the panel on today's webinar. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for that, Brian. So yes, team, welcome again. So if I can get you all to jump back onto the PSA website, and click on what's it called? Mobium. Oh, go away. Uh, cl- click on click on the Pasefika Network strategy paper, please. Um, for those of you that have just joined us, I have just pasted a link in the chat function. So if you drag your mouse all the way to the bottom of the screen, click on the chat function, you'll see the link there. If you click on the link, it will take you through to the PSA Pacifica website. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom and click on the resources tab, you will see the papers we are talking to. And so first off, we will be talking to the Pacifica Network strategy paper. Okay, so we had broken off in August 2018 into three different work streams, and one of those work streams was the strategy work stream, and what that working party what that working party group worked on was what was our structure, the mission statement, the vision, also in terms of how we wanted to see the growth of the network, but also about representing our Pacific workers and all of that. So you'll see on that on that first paper, under the purpose title, that there are subheadings there, and that gets broken down in the second document, which is part of the stream. So yes, we had done the work between August 2018 and March 2019, and then at that time, because we were only engaging with our Wellington and Auckland membership, we had asked for them to feed into this, and then then once we got that, we were able to take it to our National Fono to get our structure endorsed. So the structure there that you see under bullet point 1, which is the PSA Pasefika Committee. So that is the structure which is reflected in our election process there that is currently happening. And so in terms of the leadership, so we wanted to make sure that there was balance there in terms of gender, but also making sure that our men are able to be represented as well, because the thing is that because our females make up a lot of our membership, there could have been a possibility that none of our men actually made it onto the committee, which is why we have made it one female and one male co-convener. And then you have the secretary and treasurer. So the structure there was based on the structures there that us as a working party have been involved in, either within our community or within our churches, which is why we decided to put on there a secretary and treasurer. Then you have the women's representatives. So the women's representative, the idea came from, because we currently have three lovely ladies who currently advocate for our females, well, within the Women's Network Committee. And so the function of the women's representative is to not only function within the PSA Pasefika Network, but to also have a seat on the PSA Women's Network Committee. And so that's something we are still currently working through, and hopefully we are able to be successful in that. In terms of the men's representatives, so again, like I said previously, was to make sure our men have a voice, but also in terms of that men's representative, because culturally we are used to congregating together and talking about our own are talking about issues that aren't quite privy for our females here, is the other reason why we had created that. In terms of the youth representative, so that was around building future leaders for our network, but also the succession planning in terms of carrying on PSA and Pasfika. And then at the bottom there, you will see that there are two PSA Pasefika organisers. So although we have listed that there in terms of being part of the committee, unfortunately, because that is an operational want or need in terms of the PSA structure. It's very separate to the governance structure, and so that is being appointed by our national secretariats. And then if you scroll down, you will see that in order to be on the committee, that you need to be a network member and a delegate. And then scrolling through, you'll see the various roles and responsibilities for each of those positions that make up the committee. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, to page 4, and take a look at the PSA Pasefika Network members. So that's bullet point 5. So in that, it talks about the different nations that make us up as Pacific. So the reason for that is because we wanted to make sure that there was a definition. And so at that time, we had referenced the list there that was provided on the Ministry of Pacific Peoples website. And so we pretty much just copy and pasted it there. But yes, that is the first paper. So does anybody have any questions before we go into the second one? If not, can I get you to go back onto the PSA Pasefika website and then click on Pasefika mission statement? Cool. This is what I'm wanting. Cool. Okay. So the PSA Pasefika mission statement paper. So as I said, in terms of the first paper, that the subheadings, which is vision, growth, representing Pacific workers, empowering Pacific workers, all of those subheadings have been broken down within this paper here, so that our members are able to able to take a look at what the vision was at the time. And so when we had first engaged with our membership from Auckland and Wellington, this was some of the feedback that they wanted to see in it, but also wanted to make sure that it was achievable. Part of the strategy stream was that has been birthed is the Pacific National Delegate, and so the Pacific National Delegate, so that originally came from DIA. So DIA was the first agency to actually have that implemented. And so if I can get Stella to speak a bit more around what the, oh man, where are my words today? What the reasoning and the why for why we have been driving that. Thank you.
Thanks, Wano. Sorry, Pacific National Delegate role. It kind of fits in with the principles and the Pacific principles and that we'll talk about later in that. But what we wanted to do is that we wanted to make sure that where there is any work program that the network is looking to develop, that it's being delivered by Pacific people, and that Pacific people are it's their voice in the workplace. to be able to do that, we wanted to make sure that there was a specific Pacific person that was put there by Pacific members in that organisation. And so the first kind of organisation we did it in was in DIA, probably primarily because I organised that organisation. And this is something that is quite important for Pacific workers. And there's quite a number of Pacific workers that work at DIA. And so when we identified that actually there's an issue through the gender pay principles and we want to take a leadership role in that, we wanted to also make sure that that leadership role was from a Pacific person, not from a non-Pacific person speaking on behalf of Pacific people. And that, so we were quite purposeful around creating that role and then looking to create that role in other government organisations and that. And I guess our first sector that we're looking at is our government organisations, and that because of the whole gender pay gap work that's going on in that space and the requirement for organisations, government departments to have action plans around that, but also to drill down into the ethnic pay gap that exists in government departments. So yeah, that's pretty much why we've got that there. The other organisations, I guess, that have then followed on from there are Oranga Tamariki and MB. And we have Leah on here, who is the Pacific National Delegate for MB.
Cool, thank you for that, Stella. And so just start carrying on from the conversation. And so because we have been able to get their representation implemented within the organizations like DIA, OT, and MB, we have put forward a notice of motion for Congress that occurs this year, and so that the notice of motion is asking for Pacific representation at the executive board level, at the sector level, but also within our national delegates structures. How that would look within CPS, local governments, and DHB sectors. We can have a conversation about it because we know that you guys don't actually have a national delegate structure, and so what that looks like for our use guys. And so yes, for those of you who I don't know well what Congress is the highest decision making body within PSA, and so that is meant to occur this year in September.
I guess we're a little bit cheeky where we did it the other way around. We created the work program, we created the kind of Pacific National Delegate role through the national delegate structures, and now we're going back to the rules to get the rules adjusted to be able to reflect what we've already created. And so to be able to, like, it still has to go to Congress and it still has to be agreed upon, and so we have to convince those at Congress to vote in favour of our motion. You know, so it's really important that we encourage or talk to who we know to be our representatives going to Congress, saying to them, actually, you should support this motion, or even better, get yourselves along to Congress and be part of that process as well.
Definitely, and I know there's a couple of sectors still out there waiting to do their EOY process, and I'm pretty sure it's a CPS and local government. Otherwise, if you are attached to a PSA network, so they some of them have been rolling theirs out, like for example the Youth and Women's Network. So yes, that is pretty much the strategy strand, guys. Does any of you have any questions or want any clarity around anything that me and Stella have just spoken about? Otherwise, if not, so remember, you can ask questions using the Q&A function at the bottom. Otherwise, if you don't know how to use that, you can use the chat function. And yeah, Otherwise, if there's no questions at the moment, team, I'll hand it over to Brian. So if you can all go back into the PSA Pasefika website and click on the Pasefika Network engagement paper, and Brian will be speaking to that. Thank you.
Okay, team. So if you've had a chance to open up the link to the engagement paper, I just need to point out to you that all these strategies form the basis. This is the foundation to the work that the committee does. In terms of adjustments to the strategies, because they're living documents, they're reviewed on a regular basis. And so the committee that will take up its new structure as shown in the paper that was just presented, they will then determine the course of work going forward. But these strategies form the basis of them. And so the engagement one is an evolving document. And as I alluded to earlier on, the genesis of the work came predominantly from volunteers, workplace delegates based in Auckland and Wellington. And that was done so because that's where, at the time, the numbers were fairly represented between Auckland and Wellington. Since then, and as part of natural evolution, we have interests in areas such as Hamilton, the Waikato Bay Plenty area, and now in Christchurch, where members are saying, hey, we've heard a few things about this Pasefika network. We're keen to understand what it is and what it's about. And so whilst Auckland and Wellington have been along on the journey now extends to Hamilton and Christchurch. And so these documents become live as they continue on their journeys. And so with the engagement one, you'll see that there are a lot of activities on there which have a fun element to them, because as Pasefika, we're great at celebrating and having fun. But there's also some activities there that have a subsidiary impact there, which is to do with fundraising. And so some of the recent activities, well, it's unfortunate that we weren't able to proceed with the Auckland Pasefika Festival in a few months back because of the environment that we're in around the pandemic. But prior to that, in mid-February, there was a SIVA that was held in Auckland. And that was pretty well attended at a great cross-section of organisations under the PSA umbrella that attended that, and there was great interest for that to occur again. There's nothing stopping that type of an event being held in centres across the country. It's just all about organising. One of the subsidiary benefits of the SIVA, whilst it connected members, it also had a fundraising aspect to it. And some of the goals that we, as a committee, discussed was, when we are fortunate to have some funds raised for these events, it is to then reinvest those funds into benefits primarily for the Pasefika members. And you'll see that some of those benefits could be around specific grants, hardship grants for families, or situations where members will go on strike and will need assistance, for food and meeting bills that will be impacted from going on strike. And so one thing that came through very strongly from members was the fact to be careful that as we embark on activities that have a fundraising benefit to it, that we're conscious of the fact that we're representing our families, the PSA, and that we don't put our members in jeopardy. And such things we talk about is, if there was talk of having a bingo, and its relationship to gambling. also, the SEVA has a relationship with drinking, and so, the stats tell us that our Pasefika members rate highly in the impacts and addictions around both those vices per se, and so we just need to be careful when we have those types of events that we have sufficient protections in place. And so they're discussed through the planning of those events. Now, as I say, the other work stream is to ensure that we develop a template. And so whilst discussions have been had on the activities that are on there, a lot of them are yet to be realised. And so the list is not exhaustive, and it's open for other events to be added to that. Also, community events. The two festivals, the Auckland and Wellington Pasefika festivals, they're coordinated through the New Zealand Council of Trade Unions, and we have a strong role in support in delivering those. But unfortunately, the Greek Fest event under the CTU banner didn't proceed, and of course the pandemic that affected the Auckland one. And so there are many events that are there. I also alluded to earlier on about improvements to the data collection that we have. So on a separate but related piece of work, Stella pulled across a piece of work which now has our membership, which is sitting at around 5,000 members. Prior to that, it was around anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000, because when we signed up previously, you ticked a box on the form that said yes, you have some type of ethnicity about you, but that wasn't formally recorded and it was lost. Now there's an automatic opt-in clause similar to it exists in the youth network, where at a certain age you're automatically part of that youth network. Well, the Pasefika network now, you can go into my PSA within the PSA website, and you can now update those details, and you can select to opt in to be in the network, and that's allowed us to strengthen our numbers and to have a bit more clarity around the members that we're engaging with. So as I say, there's a lot of work to be done, and the work that the working parties have been operating under has all been voluntary and have been able to produce these strategies. So as I say, the work is there. It welcomes any of you who are willing to put your hands up. We know we have people on the ground, and as we've alluded to earlier, we've got who's joined us on our webinar this afternoon, Leah, who is very active in the Pasfika committee work. And so we tend to gravitate to Leah as the face, our poster girl for the committee down in your area. So as I say, please, if you're keen, the work can only start to get traction and to become a strength within that part of the country. Thank you.
Cool, thank you for that, Brian. So does anybody have any questions around what Brian has spoken to? Oh, sorry. So I do see there's a question there from Leah. So thank you. And the question is, if the notice of mission does get approved or passed at Congress, how long will it be before we start seeing the changes to Pasefika representation at those levels across the public service at least? So the answer to that question. So as I said, Congress is in September, but because of all the uncertainty in terms of COVID, the backup dates for that is November, otherwise next year in Feb or March. And so in terms of how long or how fast we could have it implemented, so my personal view is it is only because it would have to be a decision that would be made by the our new conveners and committee, is that we would make sure that as a committee, we have sorted out the voting process, the nomination process, and making sure that our organisers, our national organisers, were within the varied sectors, are very clear on how to operate that. So I hope that answers your question. Do you have anything to add to that, guys?
What will enable us to be able to act on it is probably as soon as possible, though, is that we've already got structures that exist. Right? So we're not looking to create anything. We are looking to embed something that has been endorsed by at Congress. So it's not like we're trying to figure out, oh, how do we do this? Because we've already done it. We've done it in Oranga Tamariki, we've done it in MB, we've done it in DIA. And so it's a matter of us hitting the ground running. It's a matter of us making sure that we have workplace delegates in place to be able to support these Pacific National Delegate roles too. And what I mean by workplace delegates is the ability to have workplace delegates who are Pacific, that have been elected by Pacific to advocate on Pacific, not workplace delegates who have been elected by the workplace who happen to be Pacific and therefore are advocating workplace issues for everyone in that workplace. Does that make sense?
Cool, thanks for that, Stella. Well, since you're on, so we are going to go into the next part of our agenda. So if everybody goes back to the PSA Pasefika website and click on Pasefika Network Gender Pay Principles, as well as Pasefika Network Principles, and I'll hand it over to Stella, who will be talking to you guys about that. Thanks,
Walo. So the gender pay principles were developed, and it looks at those 5 different areas in the paper around gender inequity for female workers. And so what we noticed with that is that within that, the statistics around Pacific and the ethnic pay gap with Pacific they're the worst out of them all. With all the data that's been collected by SSC around different ethnic groups, Pacific are the worst. And yet that paper, that work that was done, barely reflected anything that was Pacific and that to support Pacific workers or Pacific women in the workplace. And so we had Jennifer Lolala and Catalina Samisi. They formed a working group that developed a Pacific lens on the gender pay principles. And that's what kind of informed our decision to be like, actually, you know what, we need someone specific in that Pacific space to drive this within organisations, and that's how I was referring to before, why we ended up with a Pacific National Delegate role. So what we did is that we have this work program around the gender pay gap, and action plans that are required to be developed by each government department. We have people in these roles who are, the intent of them is to be involved in those conversations, to bring a Pacific perspective to those particular areas, those principles that have been identified in the paper. And so that's kind of like, instead of us saying, hey, national delegate committees, can you create this role and you determine what the work program will be for the role? The network created the work program that then said, create this role and this is what we want them to do and pursue within your conversations. We want you to be able to have this person as part of your national delegate structures, that they are supported properly to be able to work on this particular piece of work that has an impact on Pacific workers. And so it's all about being involved in those conversations around the gender pay gap, more specifically the ethnic pay gap, but also being involved in those conversations around diversity and inclusion and being that Pacific voice at that table. So that was the intent of creating that role. It will develop over time, and that, because as we hopefully look to close that gap, there are other things that are important to Pacific workers. What we have found with DIA, we were fortunate enough to have had a Fono at the time that we got our Pacific National Delegate. We were able to sit around, and that was across DIA. We were able to sit with Pacific members and talk about barriers for Pacific workers within that organisation. And within that, they talked about recruitment, shoulder tapping, lack of identifying good leadership, and that where you have a young person who could lead a youth group in church, yet they're not recognised within the workplace around that particular leadership, and therefore not valued. That all these things that you can probably all relate to. You know, a lot of those things actually sit in the gender pay gap conversation, and that because they are about barriers for females, more specifically Pacific workers, to being able to progress within their organisations and have better jobs and better paying jobs. So that was kind of like the gender pay principles. Then we have the Pacific principles. And again, I mean, we ain't about reinventing the wheel. And what we have within the PSA is what's our tangata whenua have created ngā kaupapa principles. And again, they're identified in the paper. And again, we can all relate to those principles. And the work around that is about taking a Pacific lens again and looking at it and looking at, if I was to pick up my collective agreement, how would these principles be reflected in my collective agreement from a Pacific lens, from a Pacific perspective? And if not, then what does that look like for our Pacific workers in my organisation, and that as a claim through bargaining? And so the intent around the Pacific principles is to have a look at them for our Pacific members and organisations to be saying, oh, actually, the tangihanga leave or the bereavement leave in the collective agreement doesn't support Pacific workers, and that, but this sort of wording would, you know, this is what our Pacific members say would, you know, we live in environments where we care for our elderly, where we have responsibilities around tangihanga, you know, and other non-Pacific groups have that too, where they're having to travel overseas and therefore carry out leadership roles, and that we have an opportunity as a particular group to push that through our structures, and that to make sure that that voice is heard, and again, part of the Pacific National Delegate role. That's it.
Oh, thanks heaps for that, Stella. So what I'm going to do, team, because it's a small group of you, is that I'm going to allow you all to talk, so that if you do have any questions, that you are able to talk to it rather than I'm sending it through via the Q&A. So that's our that is our update, team, in terms of the work that we have been doing for the last year and a bit. But yes, what do you guys think? Do you have any questions? So I'm just looking at some of the names, and I'm guessing some of you are fairly new to the network, and so have come to see what it is that we've been doing in the union space. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's cool. And so based on what we have spoken to you guys about, has it been helpful in terms of seeing what it is we have been doing for our Pacific people?
Yeah, definitely, really helpful. It's good to see the work that you guys are doing for us.
Oh, cool. Whereabouts do you work, Effie?
I'm in Christchurch. I work with Leah in the same office.
Oh, MB. Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no. The documents we have spoken about will definitely help you guys within MB now that you do have an established national delegate there.
Yep.
But yeah, just because it's happened to within only three of our agencies team doesn't mean that it can't happen elsewhere. So what I'll do to get the ball running and hopefully people talking is that I'll get you guys to introduce yourselves, please. So if you could say your name, the agency you work for, and yeah, what interests you to come to our fono today? So Iffy, if I can
Oh,
get
cool.
you to go first,
Yep.
please.
Cool. So talofa lava, my name's Effie. I'm with the MBIE Immigration New Zealand, and I wanted to see the work that we're doing because Leah's been encouraging me to look more into what the Pasefika PSA do. So that's why I'm here. So I'm glad I came too. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that, Effie. If we can jump over to Aubrey.
Yeah, it's all for love, everybody. I'm Aubrey. I'm MB based out at Christchurch Airport with Immigration New Zealand Border Operations. I'm a newbie to the PSA. I think I may have been a member maybe 15, 20 years ago when I was a bit more of a spring chicken. But you know, I didn't realise that there was so much going on in the background, and having worked at the border now for a while with the amount of changes that happened, I think it was about time that I actually just found out if there was anything happening Pasifika-wise, and I didn't realise that there was, and there's a whole heap happening behind there, and it's really interesting to come to this forum today and hear what the volume of work that you guys have actually been putting together. It's actually really positive vibe. Didn't you know, had no idea. I think I've got to learn all the little acronyms that you were using earlier on there, Mariko. But yeah, hi everybody.
Hi, Aubrey.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that. Yeah, no, it's just good to know that that our members are actually wanting to engage more in the work that we are doing. But in saying that, yeah, it's just taken us a bit to at least get to this point. And so, one of the questions we will ask after we have gone around the circle is in terms of engagement, what would you like to see since you are pretty new to the network. So thank you for that, Aubrey. If we can come through to Douglas, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm actually based in Christchurch as well, but at Emerge Aotearoa.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I just tuned in just to see what was happening in PSA Pasefika area. I've been a bit more involved in the PSA youth area, so yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, cool. Oh, awesome. Thanks for that, Douglas. And then if we can go over to Disciple, please.
Oh, Disciple, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah, my name's Disciple. I'm a delegate for my office for the Ministry of Social Development. And I just jumped on board because I just got invited.
Me too.
Oh, cool. thanks for that, Disciple. And then if we can come down to, is it Fee or is it Fia?
Talofa team, my name's Fiola. I'm actually in the same office as Disciple, so I don't know where you are, Disciple.
I'm in the training room. Come.
I'm in one of the other rooms too.
Come around, I've got a laptop.
Oh, I was looking for you before the meeting. I didn't know where you were, so I'm in one of the meeting rooms, but I work in the same office as Disciple for the Ministry of Social Development. We're based in the Linwood office in Christchurch.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just the same as everybody else. This is my first meeting, so I'm just come to see what you guys do and just touch base with everybody.
Cool. Thank you for that, Fiola. And now we're going to jump over to, is it Fia?
That was probably me.
Oh, okay.
But
No,
my full name's Fiola, but I go by Fee at work.
There's another Fia on here called Fia Masani.
hello, Fia. Okay, we will come back to Fia. And then if we can go to Leah.
Talofa lava everyone, Leah here. Yeah, so immigration officer at MB, Pasfika National Delegate there. And by the sounds of some of the people on the court, sounds like a family affair. So hate all the ainga out there.
Well, thank you for that, Leah. And then we'll come down to Mele.
Malolele, guys. So my name is Mela and I work here in Christchurch at the Statistics Office. And yeah, I got invited here too.
Oh, cool. Thanks for that, Mele. And then we'll try Fia Masani one more time. Fia, are you there?
Yeah.
That's why they found each other.
No, that's cool. Okay, so yeah, in terms of engagement team, what would you like to see happen within the Christchurch space?
Can I just add a bit of overarching for some of the organisations that have been identified on here, like MSD, just so you know, MSD, Department of Corrections, IRD, probably some of our biggest organisations, Ministry of Justice. So while we have Pacific National Delegates in the likes of Oranga Tamariki, MB and DIA, we have gone to the National Delegates conferences at MSD and IRD, while you've been having conversations in the Ministry of Justice space about these particular roles as well. So just know that, keep an ear out for those conversations, because, it'll be good that they know that our members at the grass level are supporting it as well. Douglas, so awesome to hear you on here from our CPS sector. We don't have very many CPS Pacific members participate in our whānau in that, and so it's wonderful to have you on here. Stats New Zealand, who was that? That was Mele. Welcome. We have just signed up a wonderful Pasifika delegate in Wellington, Maria Uluiliata. And so, again, she's a workplace delegate who happens to be Pacific, but a very strong Pacific woman who she facilitated our National Fono last year. So be sure to try and touch base with her as well, because that's a great Pacific sister in the union movement to get to know too.
Cool. Oh, hi, Fia. Talofa.
Here I am. Sorry about that. I had some tech issues. So talofa, kia ora everyone. My name's Fia Ono Masani. So talofa to all you Cantabrians down here. Effie, nice to hear your voice, long time. Cycle and Fee, I don't know you by face, but you obviously belong to the younger generations because your surnames I know, so that's really good. So I am at Oranga Tamariki. I've been here since February, under the Māori specialist role for the Kairaranga Whānau, because obviously I have Pacific and Māori, whakapapa. So OT for, I don't know, 3 months now. But as far as PSA, so I was a probation officer for corrections for about 8 years. So I belonged to PSA. While I was there for those years, and then I got out of there and I went to New Pay, and then I got out of there and that was it. So to be fair, I wasn't really thinking about joining PSA because I still have some of those things. But you know what? I thought, oh well, never mind. You don't know. Just sign up, because you know wherever our Pacific people are, there's always got to be something good that comes from that.
Yeah.
While you were talking, apart from I'm trying to read through all those documents, people, I was thinking, yeah, it would be nice if I had all those and read those first. I might have been able to contribute more to the conversation, but that's okay. And I'll continue to read those. So lots and lots of information, lots and lots of really fantastic work that's being done. So that's no surprise to me. One of the things that I did think about while you were talking was, because I am new at Oranga Tamariki, we just had our first fono for the Pacific Island staff here. Just came up with their new name, and so it's called Elevation Pacific. And I guess the talk behind that is obviously to look at our two functions really. One, looking at what can we do, how can we help influence the practice of the workforce when they're working with Pacific families. And the second one, of course, is how can we elevate Pacific staff to go into, other areas of the, of the organisation. So kind of similar thinking and similar queries around, it was the same with probation around community work staff. I'm sensing the same thing here in Oranga Tamariki around residential staff, which from what I'm kind of sensing, there's barriers around that too. So kind of just sort of, bringing the two together. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And yeah, glad you put the mics on, because I was feeling a little bit unpacific when Bronte said, oh yeah, no, they don't see you, they don't talk to you, you don't talk to them unless you want them to talk to you. And I was like, what? What Pacific is that? So yeah, I have to say, I feel, a lot warmer and, a bit more Pacific now that we have made contact and we're able to link with, with the panelists and with, all of you that have been speaking, which is, really fantastic. So thank you for that, because I don't know, I think if you didn't turn my mic on, I might have just, popped myself out of the PSA. So, thanks for that, people. And yes, we have to remember, it's always good when we're doing Pacific Fono to do that whole, introduction stuff first, let us talk and then get into the business. So if I have anything to, to add to that, it would be that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's me. Thank you.
No, that is great feedback. Because just like all of you, really not a masangi to using Zoom and everything, and so sorry, that's like not I'm used to using Zoom and everything, and so yeah, it has been a learning curve really for all of us, because used to actually seeing everybody's faces and used to being able to read the room around whether or not you're getting boring, and so you need to cut the talk and all of that. So yeah, it has been a massive learning curve, but the hope is that we don't need to engage too much longer via video conferencing. But yeah, we'll see how we go.
Fia, are you based at Cashel Street?
Who said that?
Leah.
Sorry, it was Leah.
Yeah. Cashel Street? No, I'm in at the Papanui site.
Oh, okay, cool.
What's that Cashel Street at Oranga Tamariki? Oh no, you're talking about the regional office.
Yeah.
No,
I was just going to say, it would be nice to meet you if you are there.
No, but you might want to go and say hello to my sister who's at the regional office.
Oh yeah, is she PSA?
I have no idea. She just started in November.
What's your sister's name?
Oh, sorry?
Sorry, what was your sister's name?
Leah, we don't want to put that that's confidential.
Okay.
This is a trick, right? This is a trick. You want me to suss out whether I've got boundaries and whether I know confidentiality.
Recruitment.
Is it Leah?
Boosting your
We'll
numbers.
talk later. We'll talk later.
Yes, yes.
I don't want to get smacked from my sister, all right? I just need that chick for me. She's crazy.
Everyone can vouch I'm not crazy.
Look, can I say, whilst we're having this engagement and just echoing your comments, Wallo, but do appreciate the feedback as we improve through these processes. But we also want to acknowledge your work as the workplace delegates on the ground, and you know, you guys that are on this this webinar today will form the basis of strengthening that presence and voice of the Pasefika Network in Christchurch. And as I said earlier on, Leah has been our key engager there, but now we've got 7 others who have joined us on this webinar, who in some shape or form can contribute to embedding this work within your areas. And you'll note, Fia, some of the examples that you've brought up in terms of challenges that are being faced at the workplace. A lot of these challenges will link back to the work streams that are contained within the strategic documents that have been endorsed by the network. And so these documents are not held in isolation. And so the documents were all sent to the organisers, the paid officials. So you can critique your organiser, your local organiser, and say, hey, just got off a conference call around this. Do you have any information to share in regards to that? The members of the network are more than amenable to attending your area to build that, assist in strengthening the capability, so that we can get a grounding in your particular area. This engagement today won't be the last. It'll be, many more. And in actual fact, there was a connection made with one of the members who attended, who was attending an event when the Pasfika National Fono was being held in Wellington in June last year. And so there was some early signs of a member who showed some interest. So, and then Leah came along and connected. And so it's starting to grow, and we just need to get a bit more traction and get a bit more strength. And so you guys hopefully will be able to contribute to that. And then, as I say, we won't be working in isolation, and we'll be able to, meet in a true Pasefika way, face to face, and having a discussion, but also having a bit of fun while we're at it.
Shots, Brian. But I'm just mindful of the time here, and it's been awesome. I'm engaging with each and every one of you. But is there any last minute comments there that anybody wants to make?
No, I'm good.
Are any of you site delegates? Leah is.
Yeah.
If you are?
No, I'm not. I'm a member though, Leah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Sorry.
So in Oranga Tamariki, is there a Pacific Island delegate now?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Oh, cool.
Do you want to talk to that?
Oh.
Yes, so the current Pacific National Delegate for OT is our team Mana Kiria, and she is Auckland based. So she is currently trying to figure out what her role is, and so we have been guiding her through it. And so Seal, who was on the video conference today, happens to be her organizer locally. So yeah, if you're wanting to know more about what it is she's planning on doing and wants to feed into that fear, I'll get Seal to give us contact details to you, so that you guys can figure out more how that's going to work within OT down in Christchurch.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, happy to do that.
I was going to ask if there's like plans to, I guess, do more of what we're doing now in terms of like Christchurch regional PSA Pasefika Network stuff.
That's a great question, Leah. Pasfika. No, no.
That means he doesn't know.
No, I mean she should know. No. So because we are currently going through our election process. Yeah, that's a question I can't really answer fully, but the hope is that now that we have started our engagement with Christchurch, that we are able to continue to build it up.
What's this from Christchurch at NST?
I mean, happy for you to come up with ideas too. Like, I mean, participation in that engagement space. If there is something specific around Christchurch, then participate in that engagement space with those people who are driving that work. Because that's all about activity, right? That's all about raising our profile, making sure that our members know we are here. And that. So if there is something specific in Christchurch, have a conversation with at the moment it's Brian and others and that around what that looks like for Christchurch.
I'm not sure. Oh, thanks for that, Stella. Just wondering, like, I mean, no pressure or anything, but it would be good if people are willing to perhaps share contact details. That way, you know, we at least have 8 or however many of us on here now, and can actually build on from there, or have conversations outside of this webinar.
So if one of you want to take a lead on that and then ring the 0508 number and say, hey, can I have the list of the Pasefika members in the Christchurch area and their email addresses? Take a lead, get that information, send an email out, say, hey, we just had a Fono via VC where we were able to gather this information, meet each other virtually, would like to continue with a dialogue.
And I mean, just because our current three organisers, Stella, Seal, and Dwayne, aren't based in Christchurch, doesn't mean that they can't help you in any way or form in terms of the resource that PSA may have to offer, but also that's the same for any of our new people coming on board.
Through that, you could identify who site delegates are, you know, what's happening in their spaces, you know, like there's all sorts that you can share.
Definitely. But yes, team. Unfortunately, we have come to that time, and it's been all sorts of amazing. Engaging with each and every one of you. I look forward to engaging with you guys more. But before we end our webinar today, if I can please ask Brian to close us off. Oh, sorry, unless somebody else wants to do the closing prayer. Now that I've unmuted you all.
You'd be more than welcome to.
Do it, Leah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much, Leah.
Okay, let's pray. Loving Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us together today, although it's not ideal and is over Zoom, but thank you so much for the technology that we have to be able to do that. Thank you for the PSA, thank you for PSA Pasefika Network, thank you for each one of us on this call and being able to engage and find out what is happening in the Pasfika space within PSA and being able to make connections and see where we go from here. Father, we pray for wisdom to be able to think through how we move forward from here, not just for ourselves, but for our Pasfika people. And Father, pray that you please help us to work well together, in unison, and pray for wisdom for the new committee that will be coming on board, who will be leading us. And pray, Father, that you may bless the works that have been done and will continue to do through this network. I pray that it will be for your glory and your glory alone. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Cool. Thank you for that, Leah. And thanks,
Yeah,
heaps, team.
Just a reminder, Leah touched on it in her prayer, that there is an election process going on at the moment, and hopefully you have had your voting papers along with the bios attached for those who have expressed interest.
Well, or did you say vote for me?
No, I am talking to one of my staff. I'm talking to one of my staff, sorry.
Oh, I thought you were
He's
trying
running
to
for mayor in Wellington.
National right-wing stuff here.
Look, I want the pizza. That's what I'm saying. Give to me. Give to me. But yes, thank you heaps, team, and look forward to hopefully coming down very soon.
Cool.
Otherwise, enjoy your afternoons.
Same to
and
you.
yeah,
I was just
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Nice to meet you all.